True freedom, not escape, but the path to authentic living. Have you ever dreamed of walking away from it all, quitting your job, leaving your city, deleting everything and starting over, just disappearing? A man once did. He was in his early 30s, well paid, well liked, respected, but every morning, he woke up with a quiet ache in his chest. The meetings, the metrics, the endless noise, it all felt like a cage. One day, he had enough. He sold everything he owned, bought a backpack, and booked a one-way ticket to a quiet island in Southeast Asia. No more alarms. No more emails. Just waves, sunsets, and freedom. And for a while, it worked. He woke up with the sun, surfed in the morning, sipped coconuts in the afternoon. He posted pictures with captions like, "Living free." But inside, something strange began to stir. The quiet that once felt so liberating, started to feel empty. The sunsets, though beautiful, began to blur together, and at night, lying under the stars, he started to wonder, if this is freedom, why do I still feel so lost? You see, we're taught to believe that freedom means escape from rules, from pressure, from people, from expectations, from pain, and so we run, from job to job, city to city, relationship to relationship. We change the scenery, hoping the rest will change too, but eventually, the same feelings follow us, the same emptiness, the same longing. Why? Because what we're running from is not out there, it's in here, inside the mind. Inside the heart, we chase a version of freedom that looks good in photos, but fails to touch the soul. It's an illusion, a golden cage painted to look like paradise. So what is true freedom, if it's not quitting your job, or moving to an island? If it's not about doing whatever you want, whenever you want, then what is it? The Buddha once said, you can live in a palace and still be a prisoner, or sit in a prison cell, and still be free. What did he mean? This question, this turning point, is where our journey begins, because to understand true freedom, we must first confront its opposite, not chains or walls, but desire, the quiet craving, the restless wanting, the belief that somewhere else life will finally feel right. In the next chapter, we'll dive into this hidden prison, the one we carry within ourselves. It's not guarded by locks, but by the hunger of our own minds. We all think we know what freedom looks like, no rules. No one telling us what to do, wake up when we want, buy what we like, go where we please. I'm living for myself now, people say, smiling behind a screen, but is that freedom? Or just another disguise? Let me tell you another story. He was a rising star in the tech world, CEO by 30, investor by 35, private jets, smart houses, digital everything. He used to say, freedom is doing what I want, when I want, however I want. He lived that motto like gospel, but every time he got the next thing, the next car, the next girl, the next villa, he felt a strange emptiness creep in again, a silence right after the applause. And in that silence, he realized something terrifying. The more I get what I want, the more I fear losing it. This is the hidden trap, the prison we don't see, because it's built from everything we think we want. Desire makes us chase pleasure, comfort, status, and for a moment, it feels like freedom, but like a sugar rush, it crashes, and then, we want more likes, more success, more attention, more, and when we don't get it, frustration, jealousy, fear. We suffer, not because the world is cruel, but because our craving never ends. The Buddha described this as the cycle of samsara, the endless loop of craving and clinging. We reach for something, we grab it, we hold it tight, then we realize it slips, it fades, and we start again. It's like drinking salty water to quench our thirst. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. He taught that desire is not freedom, it is attachment wearing a mask of liberation. In fact, he once said, there is no fire like lust, no trap like delusion, no river like craving. When we follow our every impulse, without awareness, we are not free, we are enslaved by our desires. But don't misunderstand, desire itself isn't evil, it's unexamined desire that keeps us chained. the wanting that says, I'll be happy when I have more money, when I fall in love, when I get out of this job, when I finally become someone. But when you arrive, happiness has moved again. Just out of reach, like a mirage in the desert. So if desire isn't freedom, and escape doesn't bring peace, then where do we look? What if freedom wasn't in the next thing, but in letting go of the chase itself? What if freedom begins when we no longer obey every craving, like it's our master? That's where we're heading next. Because real freedom isn't about running after something, it's about turning inward and discovering a space untouched by desire. That space is the stillness inside you, the place where nothing owns you. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine a place where nothing can disturb you, where no insult can shake your peace, no craving can pull you away, where silence is not empty, but full, alive. Now imagine, that place is not a mountaintop, or a forest temple, or a life free from responsibility. That place is your mind, awakened, free. True freedom, the Buddha taught, is not the freedom to chase every desire. It is the freedom from desire's control, not the power to do anything, but the strength to not be ruled by anything, not a life without suffering, but a mind that doesn't suffer over life. Let me tell you a story, not about someone who escaped the world, but about someone who found peace in the middle of it. Her name was Maya, single mom. 2 jobs. A noisy apartment, no time for retreats or silent mornings, and yet, people said she had something, a calmness, a clarity. Even when life was chaotic, she moved like water. One day a coworker asked her, "How do you stay so peaceful in all this mess?" Maya smiled and said, "Because I stopped looking for peace out there, and I started looking in here." She tapped her chest. You see, true freedom doesn't mean a perfect life, it means a liberated relationship with life. You're still in traffic, but you're no longer tense. You still feel anger, but you're no longer consumed by it. You still face loss, but you don't drown in despair, because something in you has awakened, something steady, unshaken, still. The Buddha described this inner freedom with one word, upekkha. Equanimity, a calm, unshakable mind, not indifferent, but deeply alive, balanced in joy and sorrow, centered in chaos and calm. He said, just as a rock is not moved by the wind, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. That is true freedom, not escape, but presence, not indulgence, but wisdom, not control over others, but mastery of self. You don't need to quit your job, you don't need to run away to a monastery. You can practice inner freedom, in the middle of traffic, in a conversation with someone who triggers you, in the stillness between breaths. The doorway to freedom isn't far, it's as close as your next inhale, as near as your next choice, and so, the path becomes clear. But it's not always easy, because when we start walking toward inner freedom, we face something that often scares us the most, ourselves. The thoughts we avoid, the emotions we suppress, the truths we hide behind distractions. They say the hardest person to face is not your enemy, not your boss, not even your past, it's you, without filters, without noise, without excuses. In silence, you begin to hear what you've been running from, the ache behind your smile, the fear behind your ambition, the loneliness inside your success. And it's terrifying, isn't it, to sit with yourself, truly, without the phone, the scrolling, the busy schedule, the mask. To feel what you feel, without rushing to fix it. To simply witness the storm inside, without distracting from it. But here's the paradox, only by entering the storm, can we find the eye of stillness. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who always ran. From job to job, city to city, relationship to relationship. He said he was looking for freedom, but when his last relationship ended, he booked a trip to a remote cabin, no Wi-Fi, no phone, no noise, and there, the real journey began. For 3 days, he couldn't sleep. He heard the voice inside he'd silenced for years. It asked him, "Who are you when no one's watching?" And that question broke him open. We think we fear failure, but what we really fear is seeing ourselves clearly, seeing the anger we pretend isn't there, the guilt we carry but never name, the sadness we hide behind productivity. but Buddhism teaches us this profound truth: awareness is the beginning of liberation. The moment you see your suffering clearly, without judgment, it begins to lose its grip. Not because it disappears, but because you're no longer pretending it's not there. You stop fighting yourself, you start listening. In meditation, we often say, "Come back to the breath." But what we really mean is, come back to yourself, come back to now, come back to what's real, no matter how raw. Freedom isn't some shiny, polished version of you, it's the honest you, the one who's brave enough to sit in the dark, and not flinch, because from that darkness comes light. The Buddha never promised that the path would be easy, he simply promised it would lead to awakening, and every awakening begins the same way, with the willingness to be present, with whatever is here. You don't have to fix yourself, you just have to face yourself, with honesty, with tenderness, with courage, because when you can hold your own pain, with compassion, you begin to hold the pain of others. When you stop judging your flaws, you stop judging the world. This is where the heart opens, not in perfection, but in presence, and that is where true freedom starts to grow roots. You've touched a moment of stillness, you've faced your own reflection without running, you felt the ground of true freedom, inside. Now comes the real test: can you carry that freedom into the world, into conversations, into traffic, into conflict, into your Monday morning? Because let's be honest, it's easy to feel enlightened when you're alone in silence, but try practicing mindfulness in a long grocery line, with a crying baby behind you, and your phone buzzing with bad news. That's where the practice becomes real, that's where living free begins. In Buddhism, wisdom isn't about escaping life. It's about transforming your relationship with life, one mindful breath in the middle of chaos is worth more than hours of silent meditation in a cave, if it brings you back to compassion. So how do we bring freedom into the ordinary? Let me share a story with you. There was a man named Eli. He was a Zen practitioner, but also a barista at a busy downtown cafe. Most mornings were a blur, customers impatient, orders piling up. One day, a woman yelled at him. She accused him of getting her coffee wrong. Eli looked at her, and instead of reacting, he bowed his head slightly and said, "You seem like you're having a really hard morning. I hope it gets better." The whole cafe fell silent. The woman froze, then her eyes softened, she whispered, "Thank you," and left, quietly. That moment wasn't small, it was a revolution, a moment of inner freedom, expressed in action. No blame. No resistance. No ego, just presence, and compassion. That's the kind of freedom the Buddha spoke of, not grand, not dramatic, but woven into the fabric of our everyday life, washing dishes, mindfully, listening to someone, fully, walking to work, aware of every step. This is not passivity, it's power, rooted in peace. To be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, said Nelson Mandela, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. That's the deeper level of freedom. It's not just personal. It's relational, because when you live from freedom, you stop projecting your pain onto others, you stop needing control. You start serving, not out of obligation, but out of love. Living free is not about having more time, it's about being more present in the time you already have. It's not about waiting for your life to calm down, it's about learning to be calm within the life you have. Every task, no matter how small, becomes an opportunity to return, to now, to breath, to compassion. So ask yourself, where, today, can you choose peace over reaction? Where can you choose listening over defending? Stillness over rushing, because each of these tiny decisions, each is a step on the path, each is a seed of awakening, each is a choice, to live free, and as we live free, we begin to touch something even deeper. Not just inner peace, but a sense of connection with all beings. Freedom expands, from the self, to the world, and that leads us to the next chapter, where we ask, what does it mean to be free, in a world that is suffering? When the heart is free, it doesn't retreat from the world, it opens wider, it listens deeper, it loves, not because it has to, but because it can't help but care. Real freedom isn't cold, it's not isolation, it's not a monk locked away in a cave with no emotion. No, true freedom blossoms into compassion, not as an effort, as a natural response to suffering, your own, and the world's. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman in Japan, a Zen nun, who ran an orphanage during the war. Food was scarce, resources were vanishing, and yet, every day, she managed to feed the children. One day, someone asked her, "Where do you find the strength to keep giving?" She smiled and said, "When I stopped needing to protect my own happiness, I had more than enough to share." Buddhism doesn't teach you to run from the world's suffering, it teaches you to stop adding more to it. When you're no longer clinging to identity, success, or security, you become like water, flowing where needed, nourishing everything you touch, but never held back by fear. That's the freedom of non-attachment. It's not about having nothing, it's about nothing having you. A bodhisattva, the teachings say, is someone who chooses to return again and again, not because they must, but because their heart refuses to abandon anyone. That's the highest form of freedom, the freedom to serve. Not for reward, not for praise, but because the suffering of others is no longer theirs. It's ours, but beware, compassion without wisdom can burn out. To serve without attachment, you must anchor in awareness. You must know when to act, and when to let go. You don't try to fix everyone, you don't cling to results, you do what you can. With full presence, and then release the outcome. That is the art of compassionate freedom. So maybe it looks like helping someone, even when they may never say thank you, listening deeply, without needing to give advice, donating your time, without needing recognition, and when someone hurts you, you don't retaliate, not because you're weak, but because you see clearly, they, too, are suffering. This is how awakened hearts walk the world, soft, but unshakable, open, but grounded, loving, without needing anything in return. You see, freedom is not just about being unchained, it's about not becoming the one who builds chains for others. It's about choosing peace, not just for yourself, but for all beings, without exception. This is the Bodhisattva path. The vow to walk with others, to carry their burdens, to be light, in the darkest of places. And when you begin to live this way, something miraculous happens. Your life becomes the teaching, your breath becomes a prayer, your presence becomes refuge for others. This is compassion, without grasping, without fear, without needing to be seen, just love, freely given. And now, after this long path inward, through illusion, courage, stillness, and compassion, we arrive at the closing truth. What does true freedom look like, when it's not a theory, not a concept, but a lived reality? And so, we arrive here, after every breath, every pause, every step we've taken through the illusions of freedom, through courage, stillness, and compassion, we see something profound. True freedom isn't a destination, it's not a place you can reach, it's not a prize you can win. True freedom is where the journey begins. For so long, we've been conditioned to believe that freedom means escaping the struggles of life, the pressures, the expectations, the chaos, but true freedom is the courage to face those very things, without running, without avoiding. True freedom is the wisdom to walk in the world, with open eyes, with love in your heart, and no longer bound by fear. You see, freedom is not about fighting for more space, it's about learning to live fully in the space you have. It's about being fully yourself, with all your flaws, your wounds, your dreams, and knowing that in that, you are already complete, already free. True freedom doesn't make us better than anyone, it makes us more human, more alive. It's about waking up every morning with the awareness that the world is our teacher. That every person we meet, every challenge we face, is an invitation to practice, an invitation to expand. And when we truly understand this, freedom becomes our gift to the world. The world needs more people like you, people who don't run from their fears, people who live with their hearts wide open, people who serve because they understand that the freedom of one is the freedom of all. So the question is, how will you live your freedom today? Where will you show up with open arms, with compassion, with courage? Because this journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. True freedom is a path, and every step you take matters. So take that step, take it now, and when you do, you'll find that true freedom is not somewhere to reach, but a way to live. Thank you for taking this journey with me. And if this path has resonated with you, if it has inspired you to step into your own true freedom, I invite you to subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom for more videos like this one. Like, comment, and share your thoughts. I would love to hear how you are integrating these teachings into your life. Stay connected, stay inspired, and may your journey always be full of peace.